there, welcome to the Bible in 1 Year with Uchidoi, and I'm your host, Uchidoi. So every day for the next 300, for the rest of 2025, I have decided to read the Bible through from cover to cover. I'm doing this because I want to know God for myself, I want to test the theories in the Bible, and I want to also discover what errors have been shared. I want to know what mistakes people have, like interpretations. I want to see whether there's anything there I should discard. I want to know what it is that, just basically to know the Bible stories for myself. Lots of things are out there, and sometimes when you hear something, you wonder where did that story come from exactly. So, and it's been a lot of fun. I've had people join me live from, well, someone told me, someone joined me from Korea the other day, and I remember thinking, yeah, this is awesome, this is great. So I'm glad that I'm able to share my faith and my journey with you, really. This is not me trying to preach to you. This is me trying to read my Bible and share my journey with you so that you could go read your Bible and make up your mind what you want to believe. I hope that whatever interpretations I share here are mine, and if I make any mistakes, I know that God will help me along the way, correct any erroneous views that I have. I'm not trying to impose any views. I just want to share my thoughts with people. I have enjoyed it so far and I've gotten some feedback. I'm glad. So I hope more people get to join and catch up. Today we're going to be looking, so every single day we do the Bible, I use this Bible guide. I use this as the Bible guide, and we read an Old Testament scripture, a New Testament, a Psalm, and a proverb. Follow the Bible story after story and revealing all the little nuggets that have been hidden in there. The Bible is really interesting, like so much drama, especially with the Israelites. All right, so today, if you recall yesterday, let me see. Yesterday, the Israelites refused to enter the promised land. They refused to enter the promised land. So God said they won't enter, the younger people would. Anyway, so he continues to speak to them as though he didn't just ban the Israelites from going into the promised land. He just continues to issue instructions to Moses. So that tells me that regardless of whatever obstacles you have, you must continue with. If you have an assignment, you have a goal, something to achieve, a vision, and something obstructs it, deal with the obstruction, continue with the vision. Don't let go, don't sit there, don't camp, don't do that. Okay, so God continues to issue instructions to the Israelites. He says, when you enter the land and eat what you have, in other words, when you enter the land and things have settled for you, you've now settled in and things are working out for you, offer a heave, burnt offering, sin offering, fellowship offering. We even encounter jealousy offering. So now we have a heave offering. So a heave offering is just basically taking something up before God like this. This is a heave offering. I give this up to you. So that's a heave offering. So I googled that to know what a heave was, and I tried to check out other verse of scriptures to see what, if there was any different rendition of that same word. Anyway, so basically give a heave offering and make cake from your grains, your ground meals, and give that to the Lord. The first of everything, like if you have a farm and you're harvesting some stuff, take some of the first and take the first, like really great part of it and bring it to God. Okay? Bring it to the priest. So that basically was, I think it's just trying to say, I think and I believe that this basically is God saying, acknowledge me. Acknowledge that I am the one who made it possible for you to farm. Acknowledge that I am the one who made it possible for you to have the house. Acknowledging me just means bringing that a little portion, like a first fruit, something like, someone does something for you, so you get paid for it. So you're like, oh, just I bought you something to say grateful, I'm thankful, or I bring a portion of that thing that I benefited from because of you, and I give it to you. We do that all the time to people here. So I guess that's where that culture was learned from. Then God begins to address things around sin, simultaneous sin. If you sin unintentionally, you give the offering that was listed here. So you have a bull, a grain offering, and a kid, a small goat offering. And these are supposed to cover your. We've done a lot about offerings, so I don't want to go into the details. So such long drama. So we have it will cover your burnt, wave, and sin offerings, and the priest will atone for the congregation once a congregation sins unintentionally. Like maybe they were not aware that they were doing something that was offending God, and then they become aware. bring the bull, bring the grain, and bring the 1 year old lamb, and then the priest will atone. If anyone, a human being like now, becomes aware of something they did wrong that was unintentional, they will bring a female 1 year old lamb and follow the rites as well. Okay, do whatever the priest has asked you to do, and so that he can atone for you. There's something else coming up here, really drama, because there was a gang up. There was a whole gang up today. All right, so hang in there. So you follow all the rights. If one presumptuously violates a law, like he disregards it or dismisses it, or he just, anyway, he's being presumptuous and he violates the law, then cut him off. In other words, just send him away, because he's doing it with intention. You know this thing is wrong and you're doing it. Don't encourage people like that to live among you. Cut him off. I don't know what cut him off means. Does it mean send him away, don't let him live with you, or what does that mean? Anyway, so he does that. He he asked them to cut him off because he has despised. So one day they found a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath. If you remember, Sabbath, there was a whole lot of drama about the Sabbath. A few weeks ago, you must keep the Sabbath day holy. You know they're slaves and they're not used to having any holy day. So one guy was caught gathering sticks on the Sabbath day, and then he was captured and taken to Moses. And Moses was like, "Oh, in order to show that God is really serious about this thing, this guy has to be stoned." I'm reading it in the Bible. I don't like the sound of this, but it's here, so I'm sharing it. It's here, so I'm sharing it. So the guy was stoned, as if, to put fear in the hearts of people. Like, don't take these instructions for granted. They are very serious. They could cost you your life. All right, we're coming to the interesting part now. Then make tassels. So you know what? You guys are so stubborn. Make tassels, and connect those tassels with a blue rope to your outfits, your garments. Put it at the edge of your garments, and on those garments you are going to write out some of the laws, because it's like, maybe I need to drum it into your head. So he tells them, make tassels, attach them with a blue cord, so that when you see the tassels, you remember and obey the commandment of the Lord, instead of following the desires of your heart, because you are prone to be naughty. Hello, Bendy. Hi. You are prone to being naughty. It'll help you remember. It will help you remember. So they made tassels and then attached them to their outfits so that they could remember the laws. Remember, like, oh, I didn't remember we're not supposed to work on the Sabbath. Oh, I didn't remember this was what God said we should do. So they made the tassels to make it easy for them, right? Anyway, so as Moses, maybe the stoning of that guy, because I think that's the first guy that was really stoned by the people in Israel. I don't remember any other story where people actively stoned someone. So I think it got some of the Israelites really riled up, because a man named Korah, along with Dathan and Abiram, two brothers, and some random guy named On. Now, if you remember, the people that can serve as priests were the Levites, right? And 2, 3, 4 days ago, we looked at the people who were specified out of the Levites, who were selected to handle the sacred things, the ones selected to carry load when they were moving and all of that stuff. And the reason was God wanted them serving in the place of the firstborns to handle all of that. So all the Levites had work in the temple. All the Levites, they had work in the temple. However, there was this guy called Korah who was like, I think that Moses has gone too far. They're just taking this their leadership thing to another level. Did you hear that they stoned that guy? Who the hell do they think they are? Aaron and Moses, just making yourself superior to us. How dare you? How dare you? And so let me read what I wrote here. You have gone too far with this your leadership stuff. We are all special, You're not the only one who's special, Moses. We all are. We all here are special, especially we the Levites. We're special. So you're acting like you're better than us. So Moses fell face down and began to, plead, God, please don't take this way angry, blah, blah, blah. And so God, and then he challenges them. He says, all right, fine. You guys don't believe that God asked me to do this stuff. I really don't. I'm not the one who asked them to kill that guy. I'm the one that did this part now. He got stoned. So you know what? Just to make things clear, we're going to enter into an incense duel. You bring your incense, all of you. By this time, 250 people had sided with Dathan, Abiram, and this random guy called On. This guy was from the tribe of Reuben. When people are fighting in the tribe of Levi, what is your business? What are you doing there? What concern? In our local pidgin language, we say, waiting concern you. Waiting concern you. People are there quarreling. You went to go and join them. So before the end of the day, there were like 250 people. So they all came with their incenses saying, yes, we all are going to burn incense and God, we're going to see who God will choose. So, but Moses still attempts to plead with them. So he goes and he meets them, say, guys, calm down now. Listen, listen. You know, Moses, you guys are going too far with this thing, okay? You are taking this thing too far. Didn't God choose you as Levites? He gave you Kohath tribe in particular. You guys are the ones who are handling the temple and all that. You, in fact, the other Israelites that don't even have any job here, they're not even getting paid. They have to work and pay themselves. You guys are getting paid. Why are you making this such a big deal? You know, and you have your work cut out for you. You know, you are meant to serve in the temple. You can't be priests. I'm sorry. God didn't tell me to make you priests. And then they were like, get out. Get out, please, Kama. You told us you're going to bring us to the promised land. You took us to some place where we had to stand and do stuff. We didn't even enter. You claimed that God asked us to go back because some people complained. You know, you've taken this thing too far. You are a scammer. So we're not going to accept it anymore. All of us here, we can carry incense. All of us here, we can enter the temple. We can serve in the temple. We can offer incense to God. So don't you dare say anything. We're going to come in and we're going to take you on this fight. I can just imagine how God was looking at this thing panning out. Anyway, so Moses now gets upset. You guys have gone too far. I've tried to reason with you guys, and you're calling me a scammer. Okay, I haven't cheated anyone. I haven't taken anything from anyone. I haven't abused my privileges. So God, please do not accept their offer. If you call me God, do not accept their offer. So they all gathered, and God said to Aaron, get away from these people. I want to incinerate them. I am so upset. I've been watching the drama from up here. This cannot be happening. Move away from them. I want to incinerate this guy. So Moses starts to beg again. Please, God, no. You know what I said to you before? People will say you brought us out from Egypt to kill us. Please, just take it easy. So God says, all right. Clear the tents of those who are rebels. All these people who have gathered here, clear their tents. Everybody, move away from their tents. I'm about to show whom I have chosen. If they die normally, then Moses says to them, everybody get away from the tents of those who have decided to pit their tents against mine. If they die normally, then God didn't send me. This reminds me of how, so I've heard people say things like this, men of God, and I'm thinking, all this, if I do this, if I'm not sent by God, then you didn't. So I guess that's where they got that line from. If they die normally, God didn't send me. But if they die in suspicious ways, then know that God picked me, So ask, I don't know what I wrote here, but I can't remember what I wrote here. So anyway, the cloud appears. And then they were swallowed up. The cloud appears. And then they were swallowed up in fire. Sorry, please, I'm coming. I'm trying to just go through my notes. I wrote down so much here. They were swallowed up with fire and burnt the 250 extra people that challenged Moses. So God don't accept their intent. By the time they were outside the tent of meeting, the whole community had ganged up against Moses. And God said to Aaron and Moses, they should get away from the people. But Moses intervened. And so God said, clear the tent of the rebels. And so everybody had to get away from the tent of the rebels. And guess what? An earthquake. The ground, like a sinkhole appeared. And the ground swallowed them up. Yeah, I think I thought I wrote that down. That's the story, but I guess I didn't write it down properly. I was just going to narrate it. So a sinkhole appeared, and the tents of Dathan, Abiram, maybe On, and of course Mr. Kohath, the ringleader, their tents were swallowed up. Them, their whole families, their children, they just entered a sinkhole, really, and the sinkhole closed back. And so the fire came out and gutted the tents of all the other 250 people who supported them. And so the incense, all of their incense dropped to the ground. So God asked Eleazar, the son of the priest, to go and pick up all the incenses, take them and hammer them into a thin sheet and put it on the altar where sacrifices are being made, to teach everybody a lesson that no unauthorized person should mess around with the things of God, especially the things of the tabernacle. So Mr. Korah, Abiram, and Dotham, and then on, and all the other people. So there was a bit of death on that day, and these were like prominent people. So there was a death in the land, on that day, and it was a very sad day. So basically, God dropped the message that no unauthorized person should ever attempt to burn incense before the Lord, and that ends our Old Testament reading for today. Our New Testament reading is taken from the book of Mark, chapters 15. And today, chapters 15, verses 1 to 47. But the summary of it is that Jesus is dragged before Pilate. And eventually, Pilate is like, you guys, there's some envy going on here. I know you guys don't like this guy. He seems to be really popular as the pastor than you guys, but we don't need to kill these guys. And they're like, no. So he has a tradition where every year he comes and he's magnanimous. He says, I'm going to release one prisoner, like an amnesty program. So who do you guys want? And he's so sure they will say Barabbas and Jesus, because come on, Jesus is quite popular. But they say Barabbas. Barabbas was a guy who had murdered somebody along with another rebellious group, and they were locked up in prison. So Pilate, thinking he offered Barabbas against Jesus, meant that Jesus was going to escape. But the people were so upset, and they were instigated by the chief priest who had organized Jesus' capture to say Barabbas should be exchanged in his place. So Barabbas was released, and Jesus was captured. And then eventually, Pontius Pilate sentenced Jesus to death. The details of that were more elaborate in the book of Mark. So anyway, he sentences Jesus to death, and then they take Jesus to where he's like, all right, so you've been sentenced to get, sorry, I can't do anything about it. Why don't you just give Jesus his cross to go and hang? They now decided to scourge him, beat him up, lash him. The soldiers were having fun, making fun of him. They wore thorns on his head. They put a robe on him. They were clowning around him, calling him King of the Jews. What they were doing was quite prophetic, because Jesus was the King of the Jews. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing was quite prophetic. They thought that they were just mocking him, but they were actually carrying out something that God wanted to be acknowledged. So they divided up. So he was taken to Golgotha, where he would be crucified. And he was crucified. He was hung on the cross along with some other thieves. People were mocking him. The mockery was so much that even the people who were being hung for crimes around him were mocking him. Honestly, God, it was like God forsook him. Like, okay, fine, I'm being here for not doing anything wrong. Even people that were wrong were looking down on me. So the thieves who were hanging on the cross with him were also making fun of Jesus. Very ridiculous something. Very ridiculous something. Anyway, as he hung on that cross, and they were making fun of him, humiliating him, I think he was wearing a really nice outfit, because Jesus was very excellent. And so they divided up his outfits, which reminds us of a scripture. It's written here, like, reminds us of a scripture that was said in the book of Psalms that so David was quite prophetic in the things he said. So he was narrating what will happen when Jesus was being crucified. He never knew that many years later that will be what will happen. So Jesus's outfit was divided up. Like, oh, let's cast lots for who will take what, who will take what, who will take what. Timbo Boys Calabar. If you grew up back in the 80s, you will know what I'm singing. Only Nigerians would know this. I don't know if people up north knew it, but I grew up down south, so Timbo Boys Calabar. Anyway, so they humiliated Jesus, and I wrote here, what kind of bad luck is that when people who are also thieves with you are crucified with you? Anyway, Jesus couldn't take it anymore. With a loud cry, he dies. He dies very early. People hang on these crosses for days, but Jesus dies within hours. So they go and tell Jesus, they go and tell, and when he dies, a whole drama happened. There's an earthquake, there's a breakdown, the temple tears, This temple now, where God says nobody has. Do you remember what we just read in the Old Testament? No unauthorized person has access to this temple. This temple tears by itself when Jesus is killed because they touched the Son of God. God was giving full access now to everyone that could come to the temple because the old order just passed away and they were not even aware. They were not even aware. Jesus died, and I wrote here that Jesus cried out and said, God, God, why have you forsaken me? I didn't know it was going to be this hard, you know. And that's Jesus even giving into to painful thoughts. So don't beat yourself up for it when sometimes you feel really overwhelmed by bad thoughts, but don't stay there. Snap out of your bad thoughts, okay? That's my if Jesus cried out like that, that meant that you are in good company when you are crying out too. But snap out of your bad thoughts quickly. Don't stay sad. Don't stay, because it'll make you depressed. Okay? It'll make you depressed. Anyway, so finally, as we're rounding up, the temple was torn into two from top to bottom. There was an earthquake, and the centurion who supervised Jesus' crucifixion was like, this is really a man of God. All this weird stuff that happened cannot happen ordinarily. Jesus is really, there's something about this Jesus. He's truly the Son of God. He's truly the Son of God. So Mary and Salome, some women who used to follow Jesus, who used to support his ministry, who used to take care of him, who used to just like what he did. Very popular today. We have women who kind of like minister to many of these pastors all around the place, good and bad, honestly. So Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and John, and then Salome, they were watching from afar. And when Jesus was killed, when Jesus died, a gentleman just appeared. He was like a council member, and he was like, I want the body of Jesus. I have gone to Pontius Pilate. I have requested for the body of Jesus. I have built a tomb where I want to be laid, but I want to lay Jesus in there. I believe in what he's doing. So that man comes in and lays his and takes Jesus' body down, so his body cannot be cleaned. The place has gone dark. This earthquake scared off so many people. Just weird stuff going on. So they just hurriedly go and lay Jesus in the tomb. They wrapped him in linen and took him to the tomb. Normally, when someone dies, people clean the body and then they lay it to rest. But no time to do this for Jesus. So he's laid in the tomb. So the Mary and Salome, Mary and Salome now decide that they would visit after the Passover, because Passover was the next day and Sabbath was the next day. No time to work. They would visit after the Passover and do the final burial rites for Jesus. So I wrote here that Jesus was mocked by very many people. Jesus was even the armed robbers who were even the people who were crucified along with him mocked him. That must have been a very bad low for Jesus, a very bad low for anyone, you know. And I wrote here, you know, this was like a note to self. I wrote here that I have always been a goody two shoes kind of, you know, basically not being on the wild side. And I think I was like that because I wanted to avoid being criticized. I wanted to avoid, well, let me see. I wanted people to like me. You know, I didn't want to do anything that would just trigger any dislike around me. But if I had known that people would still dislike me, I grew up to realize that I still encountered a lot of dislike. I still encountered a lot of, sometimes for no reason. For no reason. I can count at the top of my head how many people I've met who without reason have disliked me. I mean, forget the ones that I've offended. These ones don't even have a reason to dislike you, but they don't dislike you. So if Jesus could be hated by everybody, really, you can't really avoid it, okay? You can't really avoid it. I wrote here, this is just my note to self, that if I knew people would still hate me, I for do it in my mind. Meaning I should have just lived my life fully, enjoyed myself, gone soft, done whatever I wanted to do, because you really can't avoid the hate of people. If a whole Jesus couldn't avoid it, who am I to avoid? I put that there. That was notes to self. I'm not saying you should go and do whatever. I'm just saying you can't really escape people disliking you, all right? Because if you give people a chance, they will humiliate you if you can. So just live your life, do what you need to do. Even coming live like this, I actually battled with it in my mind. I was like, oh, people live your life. That's my lesson for today. That's my lesson for today. All right. So quickly, um, and then another lesson I learned from this was Joseph of Arimathea, the council member who came to take Jesus down. He already carved out a tomb for himself. If you speak about people addressing how they want to be treated when they die, it's like almost like a taboo topic where I come from. Nobody wants to talk about death. People don't prepare for how they would be handled when that time comes. They close their eyes and wait for it to happen. And in Africa, people take advantage of grieving families. People take advantage of grieving families. They tax them, they bill them so highly, they make the rights and requirements so steep, and the grieving families are overwhelmed, and because they're desperate to lay their loved ones to rest, they would do anything. They would borrow money, they would build new houses, they would do things that they can't even afford to do in order to lay their loved ones to rest. A lesson from Joseph of Arimathea: he already had a tomb carved out for himself, and then he laid Jesus there. He had that tomb carved out for him and probably his family members. There's nothing wrong with preparing long before that time comes. In fact, I was talking with my dad that those who prepare for it early end up living long. The fear is that if you prepare for it, you think you will die early. No, but that's not the case of many. Many people go ahead, prepare, call lawyers, get their wills ready, and prepare. Okay, to make it easy for those who are behind you. You can put money aside. You can prepare the place of your resting place. You can select it. You know, you can help. These are very painful, very touching, very sensitive topics. But I learned this, and God willing, I will prepare before my kids are, before that time comes. And I pray that it's still a long way off. I will prepare. I will do what I can to get my children, to make it easy for my children and grandchildren and maybe great grandchildren. These things are, well, we're talking about the Bible here. We're talking about my interpretations and lessons and what I'm drawing from it. So I hope you've gotten something from it. All right, so book of Proverbs chapter 11 verses 5 to 6 says, the righteous. Okay, so let me read it quickly. The righteousness of the blameless will direct his way aright. If you are a blameless person, your righteousness, your good thinking will direct you aright. It will deliver the upright, but the wicked man's wickedness will cause him to fail. His lust will catch up with him. That's what the summary of what the book of Proverbs 11 5 to 6 says. And Psalm 54 1 to 6. So let me read that quickly. I like to read the Psalms, especially when it's easy to read. Psalms 54 1 to 6, and then we're done for today. That will just take a minute. That will just take a minute. 54. Save me, O God, by your name, and vindicate me by your strength. Hear my prayer, O God. Give my ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers have risen up against me, and oppressors have sought after my life. They have not set God before them. Behold, God is my helper. The Lord is with those who uphold my life. He will repay my. The Lord is with those who uphold my life. I like that. I like that. Verses 5, he will repay my enemies for their evil and cut them off in your truth. I will freely sacrifice to you. I will praise your name, O Lord, for it is good, for he has delivered me out of all trouble, and my eye has seen its desires upon my enemy. My eye has seen its desires upon my enemy. That's our book of Psalms today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's session and you're taking away something. You too can go and read the scriptures and see for yourself what God says to you. Please like, please subscribe, please turn on the notification button, and please share this post with as many people as you can. I'll see you tomorrow.